now. If you're watching this, welcome back to the recording. And I'm going to do a screen share. Can you guys just nod your heads if you can see all this? Sweet. All right, we're good. Smooth sailing. All right. All right, let me get the wider view so I can see everybody. All right, here we go. All right, before we begin really anything though, I do want to get something out of the way. Please, if you guys can, just put yourselves on do not disturb mode. That means turn your phone completely off if you can. Turn it into a brick. There's something about your phone being a brick as opposed to being in airplane mode or even in silent, etc. Just something about knowing that this can't do anything to you in terms of productivity and distractions. I know many of you are watching this on the same computer that you make music with. Try to close your DAW sessions right now. Command S that thing, and then come back to it because we're trying to literally switch the hats, trying to separate that church and state of the music side, the creation side, to the positioning side of actually how to get your stuff heard. Try to close your messenger apps, social media. Again, you can see a pattern here. Just reduce the notification syndrome that we're into. Be in a room that you're free from disturbance. And most of all, just be here, be present. This is interactive. And of course, try to apply as many of these concepts as possible to your own personal situations. That being said, welcome to ArtistPro's Foundation, the mindset, the values, and the habits. This is the prerequisite for the overall ArtistPro program. But even if you have no intention of taking the program, totally fine. This is the foundation for what I think is overall a productive way to approach your music business career as the founder of a company. You guys will shortly see what I talk about here. But my vision here for ArtistPro is that music artists should be seen as founders of companies because there's a lot of parallels from running a tech startup or a business, any kind of foundership principles to running your own music business. So a lot of parallels there. So this is the foundation to ensure that you can actually do these things properly, effectively, because I will tell you guys straight up, you can do these things. Okay, the founder principle. If you guys can figure out how to do sound design, Ableton, etc., you can figure out how to be more effective with your own business itself. So again, even if you don't take the program, this should be helpful. And if you do guys want to take the program, this is the prereq. So it's a required course. That being said, quick background about me. I'm going to blast through this because I don't want to keep this about me. But my name again is HISHAM DAHUD. Flashback to the beginning. I am a musician. Thankfully, still am one actively to this day. But I began. I was one of the fortunate few guys that just kind of knew what he wanted from an early age. I just knew I wanted to be in music. The best people around me always came from music. The most fulfilling experiences, the most sense of identity I ever had came from music. So I began as a drummer in San Francisco, here in San Francisco, actually. I did the band thing for a period of time. I was a session player primarily, but I joined a number of different bands, did tour around the country, played a lot of sweet gigs as a drummer, found a lot of studio work, but then naturally, as you guys imagine, through the evolution of virtual software, drumming gigs became less and less needed as virtual instruments became more and more dominant. And around that time, actually, all I wanted to do was be a drummer. But as I got more into the music business and just learn more about it, especially as I became more of a producer, as I began to expand my palette, I just found out the business itself is something I'm very passionate about, not necessarily just playing the drums. So I evolved to becoming a producer, doing mostly my own instrumental music as well, naturally incorporating drums and whatnot. But thankfully, to this day, the stuff I make now, well, actually I make twofold. I guess you can say I have a producer brand called Offside, which is mostly this kind of stuff I use here with the instrumental kind of down-tempo chill hop stuff. But my main artist project is called the Rizik, which consists mostly of neoclassical stuff, piano, synthesizer-driven stuff, very score-driven stuff right now. The first EP is basically recorded, and right now, as you guys will see from the philosophies taught in this class, I'm stacking a lot of content to release something probably in the fall or winter at this point as a debut project. But now I've transitioned from a drummer to a piano player on the creative side. That being said, back in the day, I did not want to be that ignorant drummer who just, didn't really know how to navigate his business. So I did go to school for marketing at San Francisco State University, but I was only studying marketing because I was already doing it for this guy. I got my first into the music industry was with the legendary DJ Shadow, who, if you're not familiar with him, you probably heard some tracks from this album, Introducing, which is a legendary instrumental turntablist album released in 1996, which got the Guinness Book of World Records for the first all-sampled album. DJ Shadow was a huge influence of mine, and I was happy to do anything for him at all, but my first gig was doing digital marketing, actually. And that's actually a photo of me last month at an exhibit here, not here, but in Los Angeles, about the history of hip-hop through photography. And Shadow had an entire wall, or 2 walls actually dedicated to him. Really put things in perspective for my own career. So I thought that was a cool moment. I just threw it in there for that. But the things I did with Shadow, guys, was early digital marketing. Yes, I was managing his MySpace page in the early days and more. We were the first people to use SoundCloud, for instance, in an app. We were doing things like TuneCore. This is the essence. This is the foundation of direct-to-fan marketing. The early days of artists either taking their masters back from labels or just kind of bypassing the middleman. I came up in the music industry at the right place at the right time, if I'm honest. Very fortunate. Being from San Francisco, being around the social media revolution, being around dope music artists who wanted to be more independent, I learned a lot about how to leverage online marketing to basically build careers for music artists, and I did it with DJ Shadow. And as a result, I got really, really into this shit. I learned a lot about how the music industry was changing through technology. And I got very obsessed. I wanted to document the whole thing. As a journalist, I started writing for Hypebot.com. I started writing for Billboard. I was a senior analyst for Hypebot. I was traveling the world actually, learning about how technology was changing the music industry. Again, very fortunate as someone who's very green in the industry, kind of learning firsthand, and then having a platform to basically tell the industry what I was picking up on. So I was on conferences and panels, and I just learned a lot. And naturally, that led to the formation of my first company, Fame House. What I started with Michael Feedback, who is from Philadelphia, but we met in San Francisco. He was actually Shadow's marketing manager first. And that was the evolution of what I do now. The work we did for Shadow attracted a lot of great clients and great artists who basically needed digital marketing expertise. So we were one of the first agencies in the music space to do digital marketing. I was literally teaching artists how to use Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that. But we also evolved into an e-commerce company. And just through good work, our clients led to guys like Eminem. You know, Eminem is still a client of Fame House to this day. Tiesto, we had Alicia Keys, Pearl Jam, went on and on and on. But I had found an inadvertent niche in electronic music around that time that we really started blowing up with different cool campaigns with artists like Pretty Lights and Shadow. I met the guy right there behind me, Richie Houghton, who is a techno mainstay. And through Richie, I pretty much met all of electronic music. He really brought me into his world. And I toured the world with him, including living on Ibiza for 3 summers. But yeah, I got firsthand experience what it was like to be with an artist that really had that kind of founder principle. Richie was definitely the first artist that kind of broke the mold for me. Because as someone who's never been on tour, like a proper tour like that, I assumed that it was, you know, the traditional thing you would see, like the artist just parties and it's a crazy, like, fun lifestyle. But Richie Hahn is a legend. He's been around for so long because he really adopts that kind of business-minded founder principle. And it was my first paradigm to be like, holy shit, this is what a founder really, really operates as. And naturally, through Richie, I met a lot of great artists like Loco Dice, and I mean, all my clients are on my website. But yeah, I just found a nice niche in electronic music. That's me and Ben Turner. We went to Singapore to do the IMS Asia Pacific Summit that we did there, and we did them all over the world. So again, the theme here, guys, is that I learned a lot firsthand just by kind of being in the right place at the right time. Meanwhile, back in America, though, Fame House was getting pretty big. We got the attention of a lot of great companies. And then while I was actually in Europe with Richie and several others, I found out that Fame House was going to be acquired by Universal Music Group, which was on one hand exciting, but I already started a company to not end up at a traditional job like that. And sure enough, I ended up at a job like that. And exactly what I thought was going to happen happened. Got a job, was bored to shit. And I did not last very long at Universal Music Group because I was very much in this kind of independent world, and now I had a desk job and it sucked. So I left shortly after to pursue my own independent business, which I still do now. I do independent digital strategy, brand marketing for a number of different clients, ranging from film composers, house and techno labels, rock bands. It goes on and on, really. But around the same time, though, I kind of wanted to figure out how I can take the stuff that I've done for these larger artists as a consultant, effectively, and scale it to more of the emerging artists. Because as someone who loves to find emerging artists as a fan, like, I can't tell you how exciting it is for me to find good music. And, you know, like, that digger in me is a little like, ooh, like, no one knows about this yet. It's mine. It's mine. You know, I like that kind of feeling. But the marketer in me is like, what the hell? Like, people, this is good stuff. Why isn't this getting out here? So part of me was like, how can I actually help the emerging artist realm as opposed to the very established artist realm? So I began teaching at schools like Icon Collective in Burbank, which is mostly like a producer artist academy, where I began teaching music business curriculums and then eventually started writing music business curriculums there. And I love that place. But I didn't want to be part of any kind of institution that was very tuition driven or even something that was local. So I wanted to find ways to help artists around the world who didn't have to pay hefty college tuitions and frankly lacked not only the information and the skills that they need to get their music out there, but also the community. I remember when I was coming up, I didn't have too many career-driven artists around me. And if I did, holy shit, what kind of acceleration I would have experienced through it. So that's why I did ArtistPro. But I will get to that later. More on that much later. Let's get to today's objectives here. All right, we're going to discover what it means to turn ArtistPro, what this archetype actually stands for, what it really represents. from a functional standpoint, not just from a philosophical standpoint. Why mindset is critical, okay, for this. The key values and beliefs and philosophies, which by the way, all work together and extracted together unanimously. The process of instilling the ArtistPro mindset, and of course, how positive habits stick as well, and specifically the process to develop those positive habits. And quick reminder, whenever you see that homie pop up on the screen, that just means unmute yourself because you can begin chiming in. Although I'm probably going to just take you guys, since it's not that big of a group today, and we'll just all unmute ourselves and chime in as needed. All right, cool. Let's just get into it. The mindset. All right, I think you guys have all heard this term before. It's nothing new, nothing revolutionary, but I do want to break it down from a functional standpoint as to what ArtistPro is actually going to be representing here. It's a continuous way of thinking, okay, on a continuous day-to-day level. And that's basically oriented around your personal programming. Effectively, think of it as like the lens in which you see the world, interpret information, and then your automatic response process, okay? The idea is that you take inbound information, whether it's productive, constructive, creative, whatever. It's a continuous way that your mind is already set to program to. Okay. And frankly, before we even talk about the process of that, I need to really be very clear. It's a reflection of your value system. If you really think about it, it stems from your thoughts and belief system, which by the way, do shape your habits. Your personal programming orients the way you automatically respond to different things, which include actionable things, both positive and negative. And there's two types of primary mindsets. Okay. There's scientists and books and articles and essays on the different types of mindsets. We're just going to focus on the two primary ones for now. There's the fixed mindset, which I'm sure we all know people like this, whether it's in our friends, our family group sometimes. And it's basically what I call the woe is me mindset, talents, abilities, and all these things. This is just how I am, right? You ever meet someone who's like late all the time? Just how I am, right? Or someone who feels that there's a personal boundary. It's just how I am, kind of deal with it. I hate that shit. It's part of a fixed mindset, frankly. I think we can all agree that there's the alternative one of the growth mindset, the idea that you can develop and strengthen certain components of your life, whether it's your personal viewpoint on creativity, productivity, whatever it might be, through commitment and frankly hard work. And I know those are very just general terms, but we're going to break down what that means specifically. But the idea is that a growth mindset can be applied to anything. Okay, you can remalignate your brain. It's literally been proven through enough repetition, okay, through enough habit formation and even conscious rituals, which we'll talk about. You can reprogram the brain to be more constructive towards a positive outcome. And that's what a growth mindset is all about. And I say this is the foundation to everything. I got to talk mindset before I talk about anything else, really, okay? Because if you think about it, the key to get up to ascend to your habits starts with the mindset. Okay, you start with that personal programming, which then you need to extrapolate your belief system dictated by your thoughts. Okay, and then from the beliefs that you have, you therefore enact your values. Okay, the core principles, if you will, and only that gets to the habits. So you can't really put the cart before the horse. We do got to break down mechanically the mindset component. And just to give you an idea as to like why this is so important to me, even the logo for ArtistPro is built around this, right? So it's this idea that the mindset is the foundation, the intersection of the beliefs and values dictated by your thoughts that lead to your habits. And any musically inclined person, everyone in this room basically, can understand that this is a metronome, all right? Not that clever. But the idea is that just like a metronome keeps you on track, keeps you on pace, okay, dictates the pace as well, so does the internal metronome of your mindset, beliefs, values, and habits as well. So ultimately, ArtistPro as a mindset is just what's happening up there, okay? It does all definitely stem from what's happening up there. Now, can you change your mindset? Yes. Okay, we've already kind of established that. How do we do that? A few different ways. Let's focus on the process. So be prepared to engage here because I want to hear you guys' feedback on some of these concepts. And again, these are based on just my philosophies here. So if you have an opposing viewpoint or you want to add to it, please hit me with it. But let's just examine the word ArtistPro mechanically. Let's break it down for the first word, artist. Okay, I didn't choose music pro or, you know, any kind of like independentpreneur kind of thing. You know, those are all valid terms. I'll show you guys. I'm very big on language. Again, I'm a thoughts dictated by the thoughts of your, the pace of your language kind of person. So the language we use is to me, very, very important. So with the artist archetype, let's kind of examine that process really quickly, right? You begin as a musician. And by the way, if you don't play an instrument, this still applies to you. Whether it's Ableton or Fruity Loops as your first, music making device, it doesn't matter. You began making noises. For whatever reason, you were drawn to making audio, okay? Naturally, you evolve into the songwriter archetype. You take those noises and you organize them in compositional material. Okay, this could be the composer, arranger, songwriter. It really depends on what you're going for. But ultimately, you're no longer making random noises. You're writing songs. And then this leads to the producer side. And many people kind of just jump straight here, right? If you're making tracks in Ableton and you export them and upload them to SoundCloud, all of a sudden you're a producer. But I kind of want to break down what this word really, really mechanically means. If you really think about it, you take the word producer and you just go to the root verb there, produce. What are you doing? You're procuring something for use. You're taking something and you're preparing it, packaging it through audio, whatever it might be, for the public's consumption. So we don't have time to hear, the 11 hours you spent on your track. We don't want to hear that. It's not very enjoyable. It's not what we want. You're packaging, procuring something for our use. You've gone from the musician stage. You're starting to write songs now. And you're taking these things through the culmination of your life experiences and abilities, creative tastes, combined with how many hours it took to make that track, and you're packaging it to this thing that's for our use. From a functional standpoint, that's what we're talking about here. Great. But where does the artist come in? When does one transcend that chasm into the artist realm? Go ahead and unmute yourself if you want to chime in on that one.
Well, I think artist probably definitely insinuates a bit of mastery of each of these kind of stages. I feel like you mentioned that some folks tend to jump straight into the producer phase, but I feel like focusing on mastery at each level is how you ultimately build a foundation toward being an artist.
Interesting. Okay, so from a functional standpoint, so you're saying it's the heightened proficiency across the board, right? That's when one steps into that artist realm. Okay, a lot of truth to that. Does anyone else have another viewpoint of that, perhaps? I know Wes. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I think, like, to me, artist is kind of like represents the brand, possibly. How you talk about, you think of a producer as someone who puts out music and stuff, but you don't really think of someone as an artist until they have kind of like a following, and kind of like they've kind of labelized themselves as kind of like someone you can go to for music, and they have a crowd kind of following them.
I do like your idea of right there of expectation, reliability in that regard. That's resonating with me. I will challenge you on the idea that one needs a following before they adopt the artist archetype. You can be an artist in your bedroom, and
But it's more like organized and like ready for like what I mean. It's like a brand at that point. It's more like ready to go.
Gotcha.
When you're just a producer,
you're dancing around a key.
Games,
You're dancing around a key thing there that don't steal my thunder quite yet. But yes, you're dancing around something that's very key there. Anyone else want to contribute? Nikhil?
I think that the artist is consistent pretty much. So it's like branding and consistency. And so once you've built that consistency, everything's kind of packaged up together. So that also leads to expectations from yourself and other people who follow you.
Yeah. So consistency, you mentioned of branding, but it goes deeper and for my philosophy. Natasha, do you have anything you want to bring up on this one?
At the moment.
No. Okay. Anyway, Ashley, you got anything?
I was just thinking about the fact that it's kind of when you like everything you're doing with production turns into like its own entity, right? It's like you're not like you're not just like making music anymore, but you're kind of like serving like a larger entity outside yourself. Like you've created, you know what I mean? It's like you have you and your production, and then it's like you step into this like almost different realm of like, it takes on a life of its own, and it has different responsibilities and different outreach and things like that.
Yeah, in more ways than one. Absolutely. I resonate with that. Ty, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was kind of just building off of what Ashley said. Was I do think a lot of it has to do with like an identity.
Yes.
All of these different things are personas, but melding them together into a single identity that sort of dictates your ethos from the ground up. I think that's truly when you can feel like you're an artist.
Okay. All right. Now we're dancing closer to it. Chingshan, you got anything for us?
No, I agree with them.
Okay. That's funny. All right. I'm going to meet you guys real quick one more time for now. I wish I had my master mute button here. I can't pop. All right, cool. So very good. Very good. Let's continue this discussion further. So let's just, again, from a functional standpoint, kind of examine where the artist archetype really comes in. So ultimately here, the artist has a point of view. And by the way, this is not exclusively just the music artist side, right? I'm going to obviously apply this to music, but ultimately when one adopts the artist archetype and now presents themselves as the artist, okay, because the word artist is very, very misused, overused, underused in certain cases as well. The idea is that you no longer are here just to provide entertainment value. You're not here to bob our heads or provide a track on a playlist, a track on a spreadsheet. That's what they are. I'm sorry, but like these playlists are they're spreadsheets of music mostly. Okay, but that being said, the artist has a perspective and a viewpoint. Okay, a vision of how they interpret the world around them. Okay. And also, therefore, is a beacon for that perspective. It's one thing to have a perspective. We all have perspectives. Okay, we all interpret things. We're human creatures. That's what we do. That's what makes our mind so beautiful. But the artist, therefore, feels an obligation, an inclination, a desire, an urge, whatever it might be, to therefore then have that projected back out. Okay? And as a result, you have a message. Once you're the artist, you now express a given message through a developed medium. You guys just happen to choose music. For now, okay? I kind of want to plant that seed right now as well. Music is your primary medium right now. It's what you specialize in. Audio, it's what you specialize in. And you have as the artist, there's a perspective and vision, but you ultimately have a holistic message, which you're about as an artist. And of course, that can be transcribed through more micro instances like lyrical content. But of course, there's the video, the visual side, okay? Early now because music is your primary medium. But guys, don't forget, most people consume and discover music on these things, on the laptop, etc. With things that have, I mean, Apple just announced a new iPhone, okay, with amazing cameras and amazing screen. Guess what? The speakers are exactly the same. Okay, audio continues to not be as big of a focus. Of course, people listen to music more passively now. That's why we listen to playlists. We want more lean back experiences. Not everyone has access to amazing headphones. Music consumption no longer occurs on singular devices. And we're not walking around with CD players, tape players, and MP3 players. They're on multifunctional devices where music is one of many, many, many things now. Okay, so that being said, music is your primary medium for now, but the archetype of the ArtistPro doesn't necessarily look at general content as the burden of like, oh God, now I got to make videos. Oh God, now I got to do photography. It's part of the expansive palette that this new ecosystem of the music business has now allowed for and frankly prefers. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I really want to plant that seed early. As a result, the artist is unapologetically authentic if you alienate certain people because you have a perspective. It's okay to say to certain people, I'm not for you. But by doing that, you then therefore attract the people who you are for more strongly. You're more pronounced, especially in the beginning. Okay, especially in the beginning, it's so critical not to boil the ocean, as they say. You want to take a stance, be in a very specific perspective for a certain subset of the market, not everybody. Okay, and probably the most important thing for me anyway is that the artist is always en route. You're going somewhere. That's why we're following you. Okay, the artist does not remain stagnant with that viewpoint. It's an ever-evolving viewpoint, the same way you as a human are ever-evolving. Okay, the artist does not hoard music because they think it's the best stuff that they're ever going to make, and I just got to wait till the right time, and then I'll release this amazing track. No, you're always going to be making more stuff constantly. You interpret you interpret the world, have that perspective, have that mission, have that vision. You release. That's why they call it releasing music. You release, you let go, and you keep going. This is why we follow you. And lastly, the artist creates a brand for consumption. And I don't, again, another overused word here is brand. I have my own issues with that word too. But the same way, guys, how you took your life culmination of talents, abilities, skills, perspectives, and then put that into that session that you made that track, which also maybe took several hours, and then made a 3-minute, 4-minute, whatever version it is for our public consumption. You procured your music for our use functionally to listen to music. The artist doesn't have the same platform to tell you your whole life story or to hear all these different things about what got that vision, but you package it in a way that articulates that perspective, the vision, the mission, the authenticity, the destination. That's what the brand does. The brand is there to act as a translation vehicle for that perspective. But we, as the public, we don't just look at a brand and be like, oh, I get it. Okay, we consume a brand over the course of time. And the artist needs to package that thing in a way that makes sense for the public through most contemporary means, which again is digital media these days. So that's what I mean by a brand for consumption. If you check your notes, these questions are here for you. Just for now, you can just ask yourself, what is your point of view? What is your message? How does your media most accurately communicate? Here's one that I don't think people really kind of think about too often. How does the fact that you make music, which I know we all began for because it was fun, we got influence from other people, whatever it might be. But right now, how does the medium of music most accurately communicate that message? Why did you choose music over, say, film or cooking or, or visual art, whatever the other medium might be? Why is music the accurate one? Keep that in mind. Of course, who the hell are we, your audience? And of course, where are you taking us? Where are we going? Where is this leading us? How are you going beyond entertainment? And how have you communicated that to us? Through visual content, through medium, through engagements, through live experiences, through merchandise. It goes on and on and on. And I want to be very clear about this as well, guys. There are varying degrees to this. Some artists are very explicit. Like it's very much like an art project in that regard. Some artists are more subtle. They might go by their real name, right? Only like the real artist message kind of components are expressed in lyrical content, right? Maybe the visual art here and there. But there's a spectrum here. You can be very explicit. Some artists are fictional characters. Okay, there's a whole spectrum here. But either way, one way or another, the artist has this kind of viewpoint and the brand is there to deliver it somehow. And this stems from my favorite quotes here. Art is never finished, only abandoned, by our friend Leonardo da Vinci. This was helpful for me, especially when I realized it will never be perfect. There will never be a perfect launch point. I have a joke with certain students of like, this is not like Houston, all systems go. Like everything has to be ready. Oh, is everyone ready? Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's launch this thing. Not gonna happen. Okay, the key is to begin, to iterate and to move forward. So you can therefore not only put your message out there, guys, but get that valuable feedback loop. There's a whole different process once people start interpreting your messaging and giving it back to you through the form of feedback. Okay, but you won't be able to get that if you're just in your head or it's always on your hard drive. Okay, the idea is that you must begin somewhere. Okay, before I go into the pro side, any questions or insights, or you guys want to comment, add anything else to this stuff, go ahead and unmute yourself on the artist side. And again, it's okay if you have an opposing viewpoint. I want that. Yeah, we all good? All good? All right. Then let's quickly move forward then, because I don't want to be the only one talking. To the pro side. Okay. Let's add the pro. Music began as an interest. Okay. For whatever reason, we gravitated towards the culture around making organized noises and consuming music. It spoke to us for whatever reason to the point where it became a hobby. We started getting a little more serious about it. We started doing it more often, started banging our own instruments, maybe taking some classes, hanging out with other musicians. And around a certain point, whatever happened in our lives personally or creatively, another word I don't like to use too often, but I will use it here, and I'll explain why. Music became a passion. Okay, this is an overused term as well. But the reason why I like the word passion here is because as passionate people, we all do irrational shit, do we not? Whether it's over a person, excuse me, over a career, okay? Musicians, especially bands, are notorious for spending thousands of dollars on gear to pack in a car that's worth like $500, to drive to a gig that's 50 miles away, to get paid $50 for it. Like, what, you would think these are irrational things. We buy synthesizers we don't entirely need, but we really want them, okay? Some people spend all their lives continuously making music and just not having any real dividends, but we still do it anyway, okay? So the idea of passion is only there because it's almost like justifying irrational behaviors. So that's why I'm using it in this context, especially when compared to the pro side. Okay. Now, before I kind of give it away, please unmute yourself. And when you hear the word pro, okay, especially as an artist, a music professional, like a pro, in the context of music being an interest, a hobby, a passion, and then a pro, what does this mean to you? I need to get the temperature of the room as to what people constitute as the pro side.
Master.
Who said that?
Natasha.
Natasha. Yeah. What do you mean by that?
I'd say someone who's gone to the highest level in all aspects. So maybe also being knowledgeable in the different areas of the field.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. That a lot of validity there. The idea that we now pay you or see you worthy of income because you have mastered something that we have not had the time to do, don't have the talent, abilities, aptitude for. Okay. But again, you can be a master and really know your shit, but still just be in your bedroom for a long period of time or not quite take that professional leap. But again, that's your interpretation. That's totally cool. I want to hear the whole rooms if you can. Everyone's got to chime in on this one as to what the pro side means, because there's a lot of truth in what Natasha said as well.
Yeah, I'd say that like it's pretty much the point where you cross over the threshold where it's like you're now just getting, you know, like you're living off your music. You're no longer, you know, whatever it is, like you don't have like a side job or like whatever. You just kind of like, you've kind of been at this point where you're now professional and like that pays you enough to live your life and more, hopefully. You know?
Right. So now a lifestyle where you no longer have to do other things. You can only focus on, I'm assuming you're mentioning just making music, performing music, running
Yeah,
music.
or just like your brand focused thing. Maybe it's like, you know, you'd still your cover art and like, you know, go play shows and maybe you're like talking at some events or something, but like it's all like around your brand or around being like your artist brand versus, you know, getting distracted with other things.
Okay, so it sounds like singularity, the singular, I am this artist professional now. This is who I am and what I do. Okay, there is truth to that. But let's go deeper. Who else wanted to chime in on this?
I think speaking of a singularity is kind of like a single meeting point of multiple factors. So I think pro to me means the cross section of education, practice, and consistent results.
Ah, okay. Results that still back to singularity, the idea that the results are there to allow for this continuous lifestyle of singular focus, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I was less prescriptive because I think professional is obviously also like a pretty big way to term like artists, but I think the key is like the consistent results. If you look across anyone who says that they're a professional, the one thing is that sort of reliability on a certain type of performance from them.
Yes. Thank you. We're going to break that down further. Ashley, do you got anything for this one?
I think it's about being intentional. You know, you're not, you have like clear intentions, even down to like on a day-to-day basis of like the choices that you're making in terms of your music and what you're releasing. It's not just like, you're just kind of like doing, like, you know, exactly like why you're releasing what, or like why you're making what, like everything has a reason behind it, you know, it's not just random.
Yep. Nikhil, you got something?
Yeah, I think it's like when you make that switch from, kind of like that was said earlier, but when you make that switch from kind of having something on the side and doing music too, where you kind of switch completely into having whatever music as your straight up career and having that as your 100% focus. Mm-hmm. In my opinion is that's when you've become a pro, because you're 100% reliant on what you're doing to make a living.
Got it. Okay. Chingshan, you got to say something. Hook us up.
Okay. Well, yeah, singularity. And when you don't have a backup plan and you just go out there and put yourself out there, on top of the knowledge that you have, like all passion, hobby, and interest, just entire that industry.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. These are all very valid points here, but let me kind of break another component down based on the clients I've had previously, from the emerging artists I have now, from the way I live my personal life, etc. The pro side, everyone kind of described that. The idea like, I'm just this person now that just goes out and tours and plays shows and makes money, records music. Like, I am this person speaking at conferences. Like, I've adopted this archetype of the full time, I guess you can say. That's the natural first thing, right? The full time thing. But here's what I've kind of found out, that is all a result. This is a byproduct. Okay, this is the result of kind of adopting kind of what Ashley was talking about here, about this kind of day-to-day thing, right? The pro is someone who operates mechanically day to day, constructs themselves day to day, runs a business day to day, is obviously growing, but procures certain steps every single day. But what we're really talking about here, guys, if you look at the word passion here, it's going to transform into another word that's equally as powerful in the same state, which is anonymous, right? The idea is that you can be the best musician, best producer, okay, but the pro, I think, understands equally that it's more than just, I'm going to make the best absolute music I can ever make in this bedroom or in this studio or, you know, on this hard drive. The pro understands that as important as it is to get a very clear message and to master their skills and abilities, they must also be masterful in getting it out to market as well and have it be received. The analogy I like to really give here, guys, and you will see this a lot if you take the actual ArtistPro stuff. is that it's almost like when you make produce, like when you're producing stuff, it is like fruits and vegetables to a degree. Like your brand is like your soil, right? You're not going to Whole Foods or Ralph's and getting groceries. You're making your own organic, natural soil where you're producing these fruits, the fruits of your labor, if you will. But the farmer doesn't stop there, because it would just stay on the farm. But you have to understand how to put it in the right baskets, how to bring it to market, and position yourself wisely to ensure that it's being received and even purchased. Okay, the analogy goes way deeper than that. But the idea is that if you focus only on the music for so long, you're just going to stay anonymous. Whereas the pro understands that equally, it's part of the process to get it out there. So the key for ArtistPro in general, and then I think this is where a lot of artists kind of just fall flat, because they make amazing music, but they stay anonymous. Okay, they either don't want to adopt what it takes to get to the pro side, or they just don't know it, or they focus on the wrong things. And I honestly understand completely, because for many people, myself included, when I was like 18 especially, we look at music as the alternative income source, the alternative lifestyle. I don't want to get a job and work with Sally and 4C. No, I don't want to work with that stupid boss. I don't want to do that kind of thing. But I see these guys DJing around the world. I'm seeing that person sing songs around the world. That looks like way more fun. Okay. Just because something is not your occupation anymore doesn't mean it can't be your job. Okay. So you guys go to work all the time because you need money to pay rent, etc. Or you have repercussions. If you don't show up, something will happen. Okay, but having that same fervor for your artist career doesn't have that same sort of that same sense of urgency for a lot of people, but it should. So what I'm trying to say here is that the professional understands that they have a creative enterprise. Okay, you are effectively the founder of your creative enterprise. You're starting a company. Your core product is creativity. I don't want to say it's music. Because even though music is your loss leader, if you will, it's what's gonna get you attention. It's what's gonna get you traffic. It's gonna get you maybe an audience. That's not your fan base. That's not your customer base. Okay, you are a creative entity, a creative person. Okay, but your core enterprise is creativity. You are an artist because you have this perspective, but music is your current vehicle. I guarantee everyone here will transcend that beyond, especially as you need to for marketing purposes. But like a founder, the founder has to do everything. The founder has a vision, but they've unified that to the industry, to their team, to their customers. But the founder also has to start bootstrapped. Okay, you guys are all doing this stuff on your own, unless you have resources to hire service providers. But even that's not the best way, and I'll talk about that much later. The pro is inspired by a vision, just like the artist is. Okay, so is the founder. In turn, you inspire others. Think of Elon Musk, for instance. I use him because he's the most popular founder you can think of now. He has a vision for what the world should be. He created a product for it. The industry is now responding. Okay, his people want to work for him because they believe in what he believes. People buy his products because they believe in what he believes. The pro manages themselves, even when they're managed. Okay, you as the founder, this is your company. Your manager is your CEO. Your manager is your chief executive officer. They're the ones making chief decisions while you focus on the most important things. Okay, the pro attracts and leads a team. I didn't use the word hire for a very specific reason. You attract and lead a team. And to Ashley's point as well, you strive in mastery in these key areas as well. Okay, Natasha, I'm sorry, you said that. You strive for mastery in the key areas, but the word here is key. Okay, yes, you want to master not everything, but the key things that ensures that your company is running through its core product, which is, again, creativity. And the Big 10 I'll talk about very briefly. And this is from a book that you guys will read as part of your action items here from Stephen Pressfield called Turning Pro. Again, he lists it out here perfectly. The addict is the amateur. Okay, it's very addicting to make music and get the dopamine rush from making stuff. The artist is the professional. That is the ArtistPro archetype. From a functional standpoint, it looks something like this. On a day-to-day level, you are that creative artist with that vision. You're having a core principal product, but you're also running a business. Okay, and you're getting out there, you're acquiring fans, not an audience, a general fan base through the most efficient, powerful way to do it today. And it's not hitting the road in a fucking Sprinter van and playing shows right now. It's content marketing. Okay, you don't need to do that anymore, guys. Be thankful you live in the best era ever to make music, where you can do this stuff from a laptop. You don't have to hit the road and play gigs for $50 to maybe get one fan. Okay, you can do this stuff in mass now and automate it as well. And this will be a process, okay? The effort, the hard work that leads to get to all these things, and hopefully by enacting some of these principles, you will get there. questions on this or any comments or anything at all, guys, before we get more into the granular stuff? And this next section is going to go a little faster, so I definitely want to get your thoughts and input right now. Nikhil, I know you're going to say something.
Yeah, when you said that your manager is like your CEO, and then you're left to focus on what's important, what would you say is important then at that point? I know it's subjective, but just wanted to hear your...
It is. Well, I'll explain it. The things that are most required by you to both keep the things running as like the principal product, creativity. So of course, recording music, producing music, playing shows if you're a performer, of course. Making sure you're on point for media interviews, for instance, making video content. If you're very hands-on in your social media, which you will be in the beginning, running your social media presence. But some artists really prefer to be involved in graphic design. You know, like maybe they start off like a Photoshop file and then hand it over to graphic designers, for instance. I know some artists who really care about merch. Like they want to be hands-on on the merch. They don't want to get the final approvals from their manager, right, at the end of the quarter. They want to be involved in the whole process. It depends on what area of the business that you think you have the best mastery for. And you will find that out over the course of time, which is why I always say never outsource anything you've not yet tried yourself, because you will learn what you have the best aptitude for and the things that you just suck at. And that's totally fine, because there are specialists in every area of things that you're good at and that you suck at. But you want to strive in the areas that are the most conducive to keep your product feeling remarkable. We'll talk about that shortly, but like you're the one that lays the golden eggs. You're the founder. None of this shit runs without you. Okay, you're at the very top. But your manager is there to also not manage you, but manage projects. Your manager is the project manager. Okay, they're the ones making sure the whole team is moving and meeting deadlines and running functional, but also the manager protects you. The manager is there to ensure that you're not caught up in that day-to-day crap. They're only focusing on those things that lay the golden egg. Keep laying the golden eggs, all right? But that doesn't mean they're your babysitter. A lot of artists I meet, like, say they want a manager. At the end of the conversation, like, you don't need a manager. You just need an assistant. You need an admin, okay? Your manager is not your admin. Your manager is your business partner. Very different.
Gotcha.
Other questions on that? All right, let's power through this, guys. Real quickly, I want to also talk about, again, we're still in mindset, but how do you change the mindset? You focus on the language, okay? As I told you guys here, the thoughts kind of dictates the pace all the way up to your habits, and your quality of your thoughts are only as good as the quality of your language. Okay, we think in language, we think in visuals as well, but the things we say to ourselves is also where our attention goes. But we want to get to positive habits. So it looks something like this. You have a belief system that you've articulated through your thoughts, and then the way you say things goes back to your thoughts and back to your language. It's a continuous process. So I'm going to power through really quickly, guys, what I call the Big 10. This is kind of the 10 commandments, if you will, of ArtistPro, but it's just the things that are most consistent as to how to have the right value system. So we're going to start with the belief, and we're going to show you how you extract the value from it. And I want to also be very clear about this as well. This is the foundational 10. Okay, feel free to add your own, slightly change the language. Okay, do this for yourself. This is what I've found to be most effective for those who are actually ArtistPro. You are ready to experience new things. This is what you believe. I'm ready. You're here. You're taking the class. You're career driven. Okay, you're ready for it. You want to experience things. You don't want to just like learn shit theoretically, where you have to actually enact things and do things. And these new things are new skills, new education, new people, like all kind of new things. You understand that things have to change and you have to adopt new and better skills to get where you want to be. The value that you extract from that is progressive learning, okay? Not necessarily going to school for 4 years and being like, well, I'm glad that was over with. I don't have to learn anymore. Okay, you continuously learn. The ArtistPro is always learning new things, whether you're a live performer, adding new things to your live setup, for instance, learning new plugins, learning how to run Facebook ads, taking ArtistPro to learn how to brand and market yourself and run a company effectively, for instance, cheap plug, I know, but I had to throw it in there. Learning how to use Premiere because you've maxed out your abilities for iMovie, for instance. Learning how to use social media more effectively. The idea is that you learn things as needed along the way. That is a key value. The ArtistPro is not stagnant. You're constantly learning new stuff. The ArtistPro is committed. Hopefully everyone here loves music to the point where you want to be involved in multiple facets of it, not just making music as a producer. Hopefully maybe some of you guys have ambitions maybe to start a label, maybe have your own events company, maybe make your own products. Who knows, okay? In fact, I would argue that's where the most fulfillment comes from, not from the singular thing, all I do is make music. I think, you know, it's a wide industry and you guys have aptitude to get involved in much of it. But you're also committed to the idea that it's a marathon. This is not an overnight thing. There's that classic saying that every overnight success took 7 years to happen. It's a marathon, ups and downs, connected dots that will make sense years later, etc. So the value there is playing the long game across the board. Okay, whether you meet new people and don't assault the relationship by asking for favors, right? Building real relationships, for instance. But also just knowing that every step is a progressive one forward, and it won't make sense day to day. You will not have, rare will you have those moments where like, okay, this is a career altering sort of thing. It's all progressively. It's all continuously. Third belief here is prepare to lead by example. This one's just really basic here of just do the fucking work, okay? Don't spend so much time talking about things. Just do the work. Let the results speak for themselves. Respect, hold in high admiration, high regard your craft. At the end of the day, one of the key areas you're going to strive for mastery for is your own ability to be remarkable. And by remarkable, I'm not saying you're the best DJ in the world, you're the best producer, you're the best songwriter in the world. But you're doing something, whether it's your branding, your social media presentation, whatever it is, something is worth remarking about. You're starting the essence of what is word of mouth. Okay, something about what you're doing, the videos you're putting out, whatever it is worth remarking about. Okay, and this is a big principle for ArtistPro that we talk a lot about, especially in the second month. Respecting your industry. Okay, the music industry was here before you started. It's going to be here when you're gone. Okay, it's got a whole set of systems and processes, but you study the business. The ArtistPro is the one in the room, at the green room, backstage, at dinner before the show, whatever. That's not just talking about bullshit. The ArtistPro is the one that's up on the industry. The ArtistPro is the one at the panel, at the conferences. Well, people are actually kind of surprised, like, wow, you actually know your shit. Yes, because the ArtistPro studies the business. They know that the industry that they're in has complications, but is always progressing. This is why I love the music industry. We're still figuring it out. Ever since Napster in 1999, when the industry just got completely shook up, we're still figuring this stuff out. And it's very interesting. And the ArtistPro is the one that's always up on the latest stuff. Respecting your peers, all right? Music industry is full of cool people who don't have to work with you. Okay, but the idea is that you're constantly providing value and helping other people. You're not always trying to suck value from people. Okay, you, the ArtistPro, you're the one in the room looking around being, how can I help? How can I elevate this person? How can I provide opportunity for this person? How can I satisfy your needs, cater to your desires, solve your problems? That's the ArtistPro. Respecting yourself. I should probably put this number one, but it makes more sense in the little value system here. But the idea is, guys, without any of it, unless you take care of yourself, you can't do any of this stuff. Okay, adequate sleep, diet, exercise, nutrition. To be ArtistPro, to be a founder of a company is very exhausting, very taxing. Okay, maintaining your overall mental, spiritual, even, and physical wellness is key to this. Cherishing. I've not used the word respect here. Okay, cherish also implies a sense of protection. Your audience, especially your early audience, anyone who likes your stuff, guys, in the emerging phase. And if you think, what does that mean? I think, honestly, anything beneath like 5,000 Instagram followers and less than 1,000 email lists, like you're still in the emerging phase. So if anyone like takes a chance on you and likes you early, okay, that's your core audience. That's your core, your foundation. That's your tribe. You serve that tribe and you never betray them. Okay, you never abuse the relationship. You're always serving your tribe in that regard. This goes back to our conversation earlier. You're pro right now. Okay, pro does not mean now I'm rich and touring. No, you're pro right fucking now. And what that means is that you just show up every day, no matter what. Okay, it's a profession. Okay, you have the same sense of urgency. This is not just your day to day. This is your life. Okay, the same sense of urgency has to be applied when it comes to your career. If this is what you really want to be doing, you show up every day, no matter what. And at the end of the day, every single thing, good or bad, is your fault. Okay, big component here is simply accountability. The ArtistPro values accountability, not just for yourself, for your team as well. This is the Big 10. There it is. I've also included it in your notes here as well. So I also changed the language a little bit as well to be more actionable. So please print that out, put it on your fridge, in your studio, wherever. Keep that with you. Questions on the Big 10 before we move into the final section here of habits. We good? All right. And lastly, let's talk about habits. And again, by the way, this is all about mindset still. How do we form the habits here? Well, we're going to talk about it. We've already talked about the mindset. We got the beliefs. We extracted our values. I laid down the values for ArtistPro. Okay, those are my values for what this archetype of a new kind of wave of music artists I'm trying to usher into the world, into the industry. Which, by the way, I should also mention this. This is not just for the artists, right, to take more control of their careers and whatnot. This is also for the industry. Okay, I can't tell you how many times I've worked with different managers, me myself as a marketing professional, agents, whatever, who work with artists who either don't act professional, who don't know what they do, right? They don't know really what their publicist is doing. Therefore, they have unrealistic expectations of them. Their manager, their agents, they're not good business partners. They may be really talented, but they may get dropped because they're not good business partners effectively, okay? So this is also to breed a new generation of people who can be collaborative with the broader industry as well. So where your attention goes, energy flows and results show. I'm a firm believer that habits are great substitutes because just like mindset is your continuous automatic programming, so are the habits, the things we do without thinking much at all. We are creatures of habit, and habits are our destiny. And if you build conscious, knowingly rituals to ensure that you have good habits in place, good things happen. And as you guys already saw, your values dictate your habits, and you absolutely can change your habits. When you're not feeling it, when you're not inspired, motivated, and by this applies to anything. This applies to doing your homework. This applies to going to the gym. This applies to, I don't know, getting your groceries every Sunday, whatever it might be. When you're not feeling it, habits are a great substitute for it. So you got to shape your habits, and then they shape you. So I do like the rocket launch analogy for one thing, not for careers, but for habits, and something I call habit velocity. Okay, anyone who knows anything or even like the slightest thing about astrophysics knows that the Earth has a gravitational pull, obviously. And for a rocket to leave Earth, it needs to go what we call escape velocity. And it looks something like this. There's my shitty little escape velocity curve there. The idea here is this. When you first start a new habit, whether you took this class, you got motivated somehow, you're optimistic, you're in low gravity, okay? So it's not very hard to do these things. You can start really enacting them. And we've all experienced this shit before. Around day 10 or so, around that first week, gravity starts to kick in a little bit, all right? And as you can see, it goes up, 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 up. And by day 20, like we're really experiencing resistance, okay? And this is completely normal, but it's been proven through neuroscience by around the 30th or 40th day, if you do it consistently, okay, you will literally malleate this into your brain, and this becomes part of a new habit of yours. So it's very key to understand that you're going to experience this little ebb and flow here, but it's this shit falls apart if you're not doing it consistently and you're not doing it right. How do you do it right? Well, plan them in detail, right? Write these things out, write them down, have a design time versus do time, right? You can do a habit. A habit could take you like 10 minutes, but it could take you an hour or so to design it, right? Write things out step by step. Imagine them in your mind, visualize these things, and for God's sakes, test them. So many people just try these things like, oh, I guess I can't get to the gym on time anymore. Or like, oh, I guess I can't devote 2 hours to writing anymore, right? That's a very fixed mindset mentality. Optimize. Try things out. Fine tune. In fact, one of your action items specifically does this, where you can track them. I'll show it to you guys at the end here. And commit to 30 days every single day and do it with someone else if you can. It really, really helps. I like the idea of an on-ramp and an off-ramp. I wouldn't say it's absolutely mandatory, but I have one for my own projects as well, where if I know I'm going to start, for instance, writing music, I may have a 15-minute on-ramp of watching maybe a concert or something like that, right? And then my off-ramp might include documenting what I accomplished that day. It's part of the ritual. This goes back to the conscious ritual. Just the on-ramp and off-ramp is just there to kind of create a buffer for your actual rituals. Okay, when it comes to productivity habits, guys, real quick, I would say the most high leverage thing, do it in the morning or whenever you wake up, okay? And high leverage means what are the activities that are going to give you the highest return or move the needle to make progression on your goals? And that changes every week to week. You may be knee deep in writing an EP. You may have finished the EP. Now you're knee deep in making content. Maybe now you're knee deep in making Facebook ads. Maybe you're knee deep in making visual content. Who knows what it is? Okay, maybe you're knee deep only in, maybe your EP came out 2 months ago, and now you're looking for music libraries. Maybe you're looking for publishing, other opportunities to start generating revenue from this. Maybe you're looking for playlisters to get you on their blogs, etc. Whatever the most high leverage thing is, what's the one thing that's going to really make the most impact right now? Do that thing first thing. Also engage in what I call deep work. There's a book written by Cal Newport that talks about this idea that we live in a very distracted world right now, okay? Whether it's messenger apps, phones, email, Skype, it goes on and on and on. As a result, you get lots of shallow work done. We work for a little bit, 20 minutes later, distraction. We're not able to really get in a deep flow, in a deep work state. So you want to eliminate distractions. I implement the 60-60-30. If I were at my desk right now, I would show you, but I have a timer on my desk where I literally put for 55 minutes at a time to engage in deep work. Phone is completely off. All messengers are off. I give myself 55 minutes to really get deep into something, take a 5-minute break, pet the dog, walk around, get a drink of water, get right back in there. And then at that first 30-minute mark, I rejuvenate somehow, whether I play piano for a little bit, walk around the block, something like that. But then I get right back in there. And getting a timer helps a lot because number one, you're not on your phone. And number two, there's some kind of sense of urgency there, right? You literally see your time counting down. Like, I have 40 minutes to get this shit done. Let's get it done. And if you have the luxury of working remotely from home, or you don't have a job where you have to be there every day, I recommend trying to split your weeks. I do this maybe like once a month or so, where like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's just client work. It's just ArtistPro. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it's just music. So like my on-ramp is almost like a day long at that point. And we're talking about here, to do all of this stuff, guys, you need willpower. What is willpower? Well, it's the ability to do the things you don't want to do effectively. But let's talk about the 3 different types. I won't power. I won't eat the donut. I won't check social media, right? I won't watch Netflix right now. That's fine because it identifies the things you're not supposed to do, but it also puts the focus on them. There's I want power, which, you know, I want to play EDC. I want to go on tour. I want to drive the Porsche, whatever it might be, okay? Again, good to keep yourself in perspective, but it keeps you in the weeds. Willpower is what you're looking for. The power to do the tough things to accomplish your goals right now. What's the bullshit I don't want to do, right? But know that I have to have that kind of perspective to do it. And the way you build willpower is rejuvenation. Waking up with intention every single day rather than reactivity. What I mean by that, have a morning success ritual, right? Something that shows that you're taking care of yourself first. This is your world. Steve Jobs was famous for this, right? The reality distortion field. This is what we're talking about here. Remaining uninfluenced. Don't check your email from your boss or your social media from your friends. Or wake up with uninfluenced intention. This is your world. This is your life. This is your career. This is what you want to do, okay? Begin each day as a proponent for your reality, not reacting to someone else's. I can't tell you what a big difference this made in my life. Literally starting the day completely uninfluenced. There's something about those first few hours of just knowing that you're on your own lifespan is very important. And of course, self-awareness, whether you do meditation, journaling, vision boards, do what you got to do to put yourself in perspective, to do the things that you don't want to do, but remembering why you're doing it in the first place. Okay, and doing this on a regular basis really, really, really helps. Okay, let's start now. Let's not deviate. Let's build some of those positive habits. Back to this idea of progressive learning. Please, guys, this week, one of the most powerful books I can recommend, Steve Pressfield's Turning Pro. This is actually the sequel to a book he wrote called The War of Art, which you don't need to read for these principles to apply. Feel free to do it. This is a solid kick in the ass. I really, really recommend it. It's very much on the principles of you want to turn pro by applying what you do as an artist into your day-to-day life. I love it. It's a quick read. You can read it in a day. Highly recommended. Download and print the Big 10, of course, and then the Habit Builder document. You should have that in your action items. If you go to the very bottom of your notes here, you're going to get your Habit Builder. Once you click that, it's going to open up a new, where'd it go? Going to move the stuff around here. Once you click the Habit Builder, it's going to pop up, and you can have a new doc for every new habit. So you can literally see what is your new habit, why it's important, what's the execution, and your progress notes here as well. And I already have some examples here for you already. So you can check it out. And this is yours to keep. And those are your action items for this. Any questions before I talk about ArtistPro itself one final and quick time on any of this stuff, guys?
None for me.
Yeah. Can you talk about the 60-60-30 tactic real quick? Yeah. So is it 60 minutes and then another 60 minutes and then 30 minutes of just rejuvenation?
Yeah, so the way I talk, it's actually like 55 minutes realistically, where the timer like literally beeps, because this is also based on our attention spans and our own energy levels. Like, we're not always energetic. But the idea is that you have like 55 minutes, then 5 minutes of some sort of just like, you just change, get up, walk, get a glass of water, something, move around a little bit, then get right back in there. And by the way, that 5 minutes, do not check social media. Do not go on YouTube. Do not get distracted. Okay. You want to just kind of stay in the state of productivity. And then you do another 60 minutes or so of work, and then 30 minutes of just some other kind of rejuvenation that fills you up. I walk the dog around the block usually. That works for me. Just kind of get the blood flowing a little bit more. Sometimes I go upstairs and just like play piano for a little bit. Just something where I'm remaining uninfluenced. And it's kind of crazy to think about, but our world has evolved to this point when this is so ingrained in us that we literally feel like something's wrong. We're not like checking in, we're missing out on something, but just kind of stay in this continuous state of flow is hard. So this is the way I at least discipline myself to do it. Find out what works for you. Sometimes I do it like twice. I'll have like multiple sessions of this, but that you may need to build up to that. Not to mention, some people don't like the fact that you're off the grid for a certain period of time. Like some of my clients will literally like, I'll get 2 voicemails like, "Where are you? Need you." I'm like, dude, I told you, like, I'm unavailable from this window of time. You know, I cannot be around for this. So it also ensures that the people around you know that you're unavailable for that period of time. It's kind of like closing your door virtually, and slamming it shut.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other questions on this stuff? Or guys, please chime in when it comes, if you want to add things that you've been doing yourself when it comes to productivity, anything at all. What's been working for you?
Yeah, I think that like, I just want to chime in about the like weekly or the morning ritual thing, because I was just moving places. So like my life kind of just got like all over the place for a bit. And now I'm back to like living in a house, and I found a place that I'm living in now. And I've been able to like meditate and do yoga every morning. And I feel like that already has just been able to like make me feel so much more at home, or feel so much more like in control of my days versus just like, just kind of like waking up in like a random place and just be like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. There's, I typically wake up around 5:36, and I don't really even get started to work at like until like 8, maybe, really like real, like work. I think a lot of it has to do with just giving yourself that freedom of like, because like if you wake up with like the alarm, you go, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the way you kind of want to like, you're always going to be reacting to everything at that point. But there's something about like, the day is mine. I'm going to do a little bit of reading here, pet the dog here, listen to an album here. There are some mornings where I literally just sit down and just listen to music, which is kind of like meditation for me. Sometimes I'll literally meditate. But other times I'm like, I think I'd rather listen to an album right now.
Yeah. It's whatever you're like calling for. But like waking up on your own terms is such a powerful like tool, I think, for like.
Yeah, in fact, there is a book which I can show you guys real quickly. So this is actually for ArtistPro itself. This is the actual reading list. So of course, Turning Pro is on there for the prerequisite. There are other books as well that you will be reading if you take the program itself. But optional, of course, deep work is right there. And then there's this one, The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. I don't know if you guys have heard of this one. It's a pretty popular book now at this point. But he not only talks about the different morning routines you can take, but he also talks about them, again, from a neurological standpoint, what's happening in your brain, like chemically, when it comes to doing these things. It's a really good one. He has his own system. It's called SABERS. It's an acronym. Oh, God. Silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, scribing. I actually got it. I don't enact all of those in that order. I do my own kind of thing, but the principles are there. Success rituals. And even the word success is like, okay, like fine, but like just have your own morning ritual. For him, having silence, like meditation is important. He does like affirmations, like write down who you are, what you want to be. Again, it's up to you. The visualization thing, I actually have a mood board on Pinterest where I'm like, this is the I want to feel the life I want to live. That does work for me. It's not very hippy dippy. I literally like feel it. Exercise, of course, is a big one. And reading, whether it's an article for the music industry, whether it's some chapters of a book, and then scribing, like writing down like what you're going to do today, your successes. And again, make your own version of it, but the principles are there.
I just make a quick comment about the meditation piece. I will say that one of the most important things that has come across to me as like a creator, professional, otherwise, is that we live in a very distraction-driven world.
I can't hear anything, and I'm not sure why. So I'm
Can you hear us?
participating in a meeting where I can't hear anything.
Can you hear us?
It's
No?
embarrassing, and I'm not sure whether to leave or whether to sort out my.
I'll message her. Go ahead, Ty. I'll message her.
Sure thing. Yeah, no, I was just saying, like, I find oftentimes that our brain is an amazing device, but it also can be like an echo chamber where things slip in. So
you can hear me.
Good.
Things that folks say to you, things that your parents say to you, things that your peers say to you, shit you hear on TV, stuff you hear in a song, and all of these thoughts and influences, which are not necessarily core to you or are you, just sort of bang around and echo silently sometimes, but just in the background for sure, almost like a computer, slightly taking up a little bit more processing power and a little bit more focus, silently stealing it. And meditation has really helped me to slip into more this clear blank slate, back from all the other influences that are just sort of swirling around us and getting inside of us. And so it's one of those things where I stopped doing it necessarily just from the standpoint of like spiritualness and anything like that, but it's really like defragging and resetting the hard drive as often as you need to. So I think that's like one of the more pragmatic ways that I've looked at and applied meditation that's really made it click and work for me.
How often? You mentioned how often you need to. How often are you doing it?
So at minimum, probably every other day, but literally if in the middle of a day, and my attentional abilities vary from day to day. Some days I'm a lot more distractible than others, but in those days where I feel more distracted, where I feel myself requiring a lot more energy to start something or get something done, I know that there's programs running in the background that aren't serving me. And so I'll meditate, as soon as possible. It could just be for like 10, 15 minutes, but it always helps.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I think there are degrees to that. I mean, if you've not meditated before, or you find it kind of a little hippy dippy, whatever, there are apps for this. Like there's an app called Headspace, for instance, that I use for guided meditation sometimes. But I will say there's also something to be said about just sitting in silence, man, as well. I mean, this morning, here I am visiting my parents' house. I was like, I'm in my hometown again. I've been here many months. I was like, I'm going to go down and get a cup of coffee and just sit. And it was like 7 a.m., like quiet street. I'm just going to sit. Just going to sit. And there's something about just having that kind of quiet time was powerful enough. I didn't actively let thoughts come and go. None of that stuff. I just sat. I just sat in silence. There's something powerful even just about that, I got to say. In this very loud, distracted age we live in, again, I live in downtown LA where it's never quiet. So I needed that kind of freedom of a mental clarity there. But thank you for sharing that. Anyone else got any other productivity tips, hacks, anything they've experienced? Please share. What's worked for you?
I agree with Ty there with the meditation thing and being able to just, spend 10 minutes and then being able to kind of reset, some of the stuff going on in your head. I think I also use that Calm app, or you use Headspace. I use Calm, but it's pretty chill. Just sit down 10 minutes a day. And I didn't really buy into it at the beginning, but after like doing it for like a week or two, it definitely makes a difference, especially like towards like the later half of the day when you've already kind of started doing a bunch of shit in the morning and whatnot. So I definitely think that meditating helps clear up space in your head. I'm not saying that you need to like completely unplug and be like completely empty, because I think a little bit of distraction is kind of where some of my inspiration comes from. And
sure.
Distraction and means like, like listening to music or like,
yeah, I know what you mean. I know what
I'm saying? Yeah. So I don't know, just my opinion on that.
Yeah. And again, I don't know. Meditation is not like too esoteric weird anymore. It's kind of like, a lot of like big CEOs meditate as like rituals at this point,
Yeah.
Anyone else? Chime in before I go in. Yeah.
I have a question. So, so all the steps that, or the things that you follow every day, do you try to adjust yourself? Well, if you're working from project to project, do you adjust it a little bit, or do you try to follow it like no matter what? When
it comes to which ones, the 60-60-30 stuff?
Yes, that.
Yeah, it also depends. Sometimes I have a meeting like in Tarzana, for instance, that I have to go to for like 3 hours. But what I try to do is ensuring that at some part of the day, the high leverage thing I mentioned always gets done, no matter what. Like that has to get done no matter what. But things like emails, for instance, like if I got to push that a day, I'll push that a day. I don't care. I try to be a very responsive, reliable, person in that regard. But the things I can let go of usually include email, I got to say. And sometimes like reading, like I get subscriptions to different things as well pretty often that I try to make part of my rituals. But man, if I got to wake up and go to Tarzana or something like that and come back, then I'll, either do that later that night or the next day, or I'll stack them and read them on a Saturday morning or something like that. It's amiable. But to your question, Ching Chang, the thing that never ever changes is the high leverage thing. I identify that usually the day before, sometimes days before, if I can anticipate when I'm going to have like that non-traditional kind of day. And that always has to get done no matter what.
Okay.
Weston, how you feeling?
Alive and well. I'm gonna pass out after this, not gonna lie.
All right, all good. Let me get quickly to this. So you guys just experienced the prereq for the program itself. So ArtistPro is not just courses that I'm doing here online. It is an educational brand. frankly, that extends from this idea of the creative founder. I mean, again, from my background in San Francisco, for the stuff I think people need to do, you got to be this founder architect to unify that vision, right, of creative professionalism. And the main areas that we do this is going to be obviously education that you guys just experienced now, activation, hence the action items, etc. Let me just get this full screen real quick. And a big thing for me, guys, is community as well. I think a lot of people don't have that kind of career-driven network of people to do things with. And even on the industry side, yes, the music industry is relationship-driven, but even on the industry side, people just lack community. So it's very important that these 3 pillars are consistent with ArtistPro. And the principal product right now is this 12-week experience. The first phase is strictly branding. We got to know who you are and what you're about and who you're going after before we even talk about marketing. So it's deep dives on branding, serving your brand, crafting messages on content strategy. And the fourth week, and every fourth week, is peer review. Because you can't just get feedback from me and from your group, but I also invite other people who've taken ArtistPro previously as well to come back and sit on your classes to give you feedback on everything from the first month of branding. The second month is straight marketing, building a marketing funnel, which looks something like that we spent a lot of time constructing. But we build the funnel, we learn how to use the funnel, we learn how to use data for fan acquisition. And again, on the 8th week, you get group presentations, peer reviews to figure out how you're actually going to be building your funnel and using it. So you have something like this that works on its own. And the final phase is understanding the industry that you're actually getting into. Week 10 is branding, but it's personal branding. So it's more about how to attract a team, lead a team, how to become more memorable, build better contacts. And the final week there is not a presentation about, again, just to me and your group and other group members, but on the final week, I typically invite my industry friends as well to sit on the classes and give feedback. Because I experienced something like that very similar, right? I did a 7-minute thesis presentation at San Francisco State, and that's where I met DJ Shadow's marketing manager. That led to Fame House. That led to Richie Houghton. That led to everything. So I'm just trying to pay it forward and invite my industry friends, because you never know who's got a record deal or maybe some gigs or an internship, whatever it might be. So just trying to continuously facilitate opportunities. Time commitment, it's usually between 4 and 10 hours a week, just so you know. 90 minutes or so for the group discussion. There's action items. It depends how hard you want to go. You can go longer than this, but I'm just realistic in saying that you're going to at least need 4 hours a week to do some of this stuff. And yeah, you get 12 weeks of interactive stuff with me. Everything's recorded, as you guys will experience as well. I can actually I'll just power through this. Video recording, action items, discussion notes. You get access to our Discord community, which I'll show you in a second. Supplemental materials, like-minded people, accountability partners. I have different partners who've also partnered with me as well for ArtistPro, like Music Ally, Bandzoogle, Tone Den. We will be doing events around the world. My next one technically is actually next month in Amsterdam at ADE, Amsterdam Dance Event, but a lot of them will be in LA as well. But I'm trying to take this thing global, because ArtistPro is not just programs and educational stuff too. It's a brand about events and content that's meant to draw people together. And the pricing is $19.47, but we have flexible payment plans, scholarships in some cases available. There's even a discount if you pay up front as well, and we won't allow an upfront cost to deter your growth. So just to give you a quick idea, again, I showed you guys the book list. Again, everything is sent to you as an unlisted YouTube link, and this is literally actually one of the peer reviews right now. So students are presenting their golden circles here. You guys saw the action items already. Here's that. Here's what Discord looks like as well. So as you can see here, there's a primary ArtistPro group where everyone's kind of talking to each other. We have different announcements. So every month when people join the actual program, we make videos to introduce all the new students so everyone can meet everybody properly. This is probably the music, where it's all interview based and everyone actually meets everybody, which is kind of cool. And then anything around industry news, productivity, marketing. It's one big living community. So also we do police support. So if you have a new release, for instance, you need some pre-saves, some likes, shows, etc. Everyone supports their stuff. If you need feedback on what single to use for your EP, for instance, this is what this is for, collaborations. It goes on and on and on. And then every group also has its own personal Discord. So every week I unlock a new thread, and you're never doing this stuff on your own. So every week you're actually interacting with your group to build on these principles together. All right, I hate being up here and selling this kind of stuff, but it's part of the job, I suppose. And the next group begins October 2nd. Again, if you want to take the program, this is the prereq. I know Nikhil, for instance, here has already joined the October group. So this is him taking the prereq. If you do want to apply, September 26th is the deadline. And by all means, if you guys apply, you get a call with me to review your goals. We'll fine tune your habit builder, and you can ask me anything the hell you want. And I have some feedback from previous students. some success stories, if you will. I guess the big thing to focus on here is that there's a wide variety of styles in music. It's not just electronic music, and I know a lot of my students tend to be in that realm, but it's not just that. All walks of life of people who've taken the program and dug it. And they're all in the actual community as well. And if you take the program, you will be expected to come back every 4 weeks or so to sit in on classes and give feedback to ensure that you're always giving back to the community. And if you want to apply, there's the link, or you can send me up. All right, enough of that. General questions about anything. Not just about ArtistPro, but anything that you guys are working on right now. Anything at all. Anything at all. Final 10 minutes.
Is it like typically like 10 a.m. classes, or like what are the time?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. Sorry. The October group is going to be Wednesdays at. There's a new group every single month too. So if it doesn't work,
froze when you said the time. What time was it? Sorry.
10 a.m. Pacific time.
Okay, perfect. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah. And there's about 5 people already in the October group right now. I don't go more than 15 students technically, although I've never even come close to that yet, because I try to keep these smaller, intimate groups of people who actually are going to lift everyone. You know, I've already turned down certain people who just know. It just takes that one person just to bring the vibe down. So it is a curated group of people as well. Hence the application.
And also, did you say it was Wednesdays typically?
Yeah, the October group is going to be on Wednesdays.
Okay.
And then from there, the next month is Monday, then Tuesday, then Wednesday, then Monday. Then Tuesday.
Got you.
Circulates around. And I do 10 a.m. It depends sometimes. I mean, for instance, if I get a lot of European people, right, I may skew to 9 a.m.
Yeah.
It just depends as well. But right now, it's mostly North American folks. I mean, I got people from Panama in the group right now. I got people in Berlin, one person in Ibiza. The current group actually has a manager in London for the company Your Army. Go figure. My first non-artist student taking it, which is kind of cool. But right now, it's mostly North American based for the most part. So I'm catering towards the American time zones for now.
And how long are those class sessions?
Kind of like what you're experiencing right now, 90 minutes or so.
Okay.
I try to do maybe like between 60 and 80 minutes of like lectures, and then Q&A for 10 minutes. But sometimes they go over. I block an extra half hour just in case, because sometimes the Q&As just get very ignited, and they can go over. In which case, if you have to leave, it's recorded and sent to you. But I mean, the real magic happens with feedback and questions and stuff. So yeah, give yourself that 90 minutes, but it can go even 2 hours. It depends. Okay. Other questions? How about stuff like with what you're working on? Any other brand questions? I mean, feel free to ask me a question about ArtistPro, but anything that's specific to you.
This might be kind of a long one, but I'm just curious, like, what do you think is like the proper marketing process if you just drop a song? Like what are the steps that, like, you know what I mean? Like, how much stuff?
Yeah, you got 3 hours? Can we go to lunch?
I'm just curious to know if like you have like kind of like a set list of stuff that you're like, okay, like you dropped a song, all right, now you have to like hit up these guys. I know that's kind of a long question, so like,
sort of, yeah. Even ArtistPro has like a checklist thing that starts way before you drop the song. I should mention. I will say this. Trying to think of like the terminology here. So the idea of like dropping a song, it's you know, like, oh, dropped it. All right. Hope you guys like it. Like, no, not at all. It's a lot of front loading. And look, I understand that the music being an exciting thing. When you make music, you want it to be heard right away. And it's exciting for you and you have an ambition to get it heard as soon as possible. But I think the most effective thing, guys, if you want to bring it back to this idea of you as a content publisher now, and I'm not demeaning your work or demeaning anything like that. Like when I say you're a content publisher, like you're a musician, you're an artist, you have a perspective, you have a craft. You're a content publisher. Okay, you're competing with the world of content right now. And the most maximized way to get ahead in that world is to front load, because you need consistency and you need constancy and you need campaign driven materials. So a checklist would include WAV files that are now mastered, for instance, right? Cover arts, updated bios, new press kit, social media content for depending on how many weeks your intervals for campaigns would be, right? So let's just say every 6 to 8 weeks, which is actually what I recommend for singles in most realms and most genres, especially if you're leading to things like EPs and albums. Every 6 to 8 weeks, you have your assets, your campaign assets, which includes the primary track, but then all the subsidiary information, all the subsidiary content around it, having a content calendar to actually program your social media channels the way you are a media publisher now, right? You have multiple channels like a media company does effectively, and having consistent output that builds context. You're not fishing for likes anymore. You're not fishing for comments, and you're fishing for streams. You're fishing for email addresses. You're fishing for money, for revenue supporting. Is there any merchandise coming from these? You're fishing for licensing opportunities. You're fishing for music publishing opportunities. You're fishing for collaborations. You're fishing for label interest, right? You got to go beyond the self-serving quick dopamine things of likes, comments, and shares, which they have their own value from a functional standpoint, from a marketing standpoint. But what are we really going after? A fan base, not an audience. An audience can come through traffic, like a playlist. You can get on a dope playlist and you have a bunch of traffic now. But what percentage of those people are now becoming fans of yours based on the fact that they've heard your music and now have gone down that funnel that I showed you briefly of brand discovery, of consumption, of engagement, and ultimately monetization of some kind? So in essence, that was a roundabout way of kind of saying
the short answer. No, I'm just curious to like kind of see like what kind of stuff we'd be getting into, and like it's cool to know that like there will be like kind of like that breakdown of like what your idea of like when you release, kind of how to be on top of it and how to stay updated with it. So
yeah, and I jumped ahead. I didn't even talk about the brand building phase. I mean, I jumped to month 2 basically. Like there's a whole other thing that when it comes to your messaging and what you're trying to tell us. But yes, there is actually, it won't be me telling you, you'll be telling me in your group. Like that's week 8. It's peer review. You're going to get all the things in place for your funnel, but then you tell us how you would do it. And then we all give you feedback based on, our own interpretations of it. So it's not just me telling you.
Awesome. Sounds great.
Word. Any other questions like that when it comes to music release stuff or things I can answer relatively quickly?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So are the classes like this, or it's going to be like a real live class? It's not like we're watching video content.
No. The only videos you're watching are the recordings,
Okay.
which are yours they're yours to keep as well. You'll be given a private YouTube link that's yours forever. But no, everything's interactive. Everything's with your actual group, with me, and every 4th week with other people as well who are sitting in. Other questions? But anything. Nikhil, how you feeling?
Feeling good. Excited to start. Quick question.
Yes.
Who's your ideal or your pinnacle artist when it comes to a whole package, like the branding, everything's in line? Like if you could pick one person.
That's out right now? Doing it?
Yeah.
Like an established artist is what you're asking, right?
Exactly.
Oh, man.
Your go-to. You can do like top 3 or whatever's easiest.
I mean, I'll still use someone. I actually use him as an example a lot because I actually have case studies of stuff I've done with him. Richie Houghton, of course. Okay. Techno DJ and pioneer there.
Yep.
I mean, up and coming. I like that kid IO right now. Yep. I don't know if you guys seen him.
Yep.
He's just nailed, dude. I mean, he wasn't in my class at Icon, but I know he came to office hours and stuff. But like, he totally took that shit to heart. Nice. When I first saw him like on stage, I was like, that kid looks familiar. And someone's like, dude, he went to Icon. I'm like, holy shit. Like someone paid attention in class. That was really cool. I mean, he's doing it right when it comes to branding. So I like his stuff right now as well.
Okay.
Let me think of someone like maybe like more like a label as well, because it's not just artistry, the supply chain, labels, events. I mean, I can think Desert Hearts probably comes to mind as well, since I work with them. Dirty Bird for sure as well.
Okay.
Non-electronic music artists as well. I mean, who do you guys think? Who do you think's out there right now, kind of crushing it when it comes to their branding and marketing? You guys tell me. Who do you think's crushing it?
I think Zoo probably, in just my opinion, he has a great brand.
Classic example, yeah. I mean, he's
obviously classic, definitely, but I mean, he just continues to show he's just on point with all of his content and everything.
Yeah, his team is sharp, but it's not just his team. He's got the vision.
Yep.
He's very clear about the vision, so it makes people like me who are on your team. It makes it easy for us, because you're very clear about who you are and who you're not as well.
Exactly.
Who else is kind of killing it right now, in your guys' opinion, when it comes to marketing? People, or somebody you admire, for instance. I think Rez has got a pretty dope brand too, right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Who else? What do you guys think? Ty, who do you think's killing it? If I could unmute you. Stop
Okay,
it.
sorry about that. Yeah. Okay, so this is like obviously a really like kind of no-brainer, but I would say if you just look at the business model of what Drake has pulled off, I think that's a guy that understood the business, the branding, the process, the acumen, the politics. I mean, literally all the pieces that kind of go into the modern business of music. He would be somebody that I would say, I mean, he doesn't do everything, but the things that he does, he has a very specific formula that he's developed with a couple key people. They stick to it. It works. The merchandising aspect of it is solid. I mean, I just think if you really study what he does, like or hate him, he's just got a really solid process behind him that almost makes you realize why someone like him could feel literally out loud and say, like, I'm going to be the next Jay-Z, because he understands, you know, just what Jay-Z said. Jay-Z says he's a businessman. So it's like, I think he said that because he understood what he was working with from a formula standpoint, and you can watch it play out.
Yep. Yep. I mean, if I were to look at any two genres specifically, right? Forget artists now that really get this. They're the two most dominant genres now: hip hop and electronic music as well. Younger audiences, typically, who are very digitally savvy, who consume content, who have expendable income to support for shows, merchandise, etc. Okay, celebrity archetypes, not necessarily celebrities all the time, but celebrity archetypes when it comes to the fan relationship. Solid foundations of branding. In some cases, especially electronic music, it's like I mentioned, it's like full fictional character. Look at Marshmello. Look how much money that dude's raking it in right now, right? And I know that's a very controversial figure too, but you know what? Strong brand. Because if you have a strong opinion, like, oh, I hate Marshmello, and people go, I love Marshmello. What a powerful brand, right? Because it's very definitive. It's taking a stance. The worst thing you can be when it comes to a brand is neutral, right? When you're lukewarm, right? You want an emotion. Branding is all emotional response, which is why I spent a month on it before we even figure out how to like market that shit. You gotta nail the brand. And by the way, that 4-week period is not even enough. Okay, because you're gonna get the foundation, but a brand evolves, just like the artist is en route, is going somewhere. Your brand evolves, whether it's physically, like you update your profile photos like every year or something, or your press photos rather every year. Your website updates as you go. Your bio updates as you release new music and do new things as well. But more importantly, the vision updates, I think, as well, and the perspective updates. However, I use this analogy as well. When people are on your bandwagon, when you're literally pulling people in the wagon, you can't just jerk left and then they start falling off the wagon. You can go, but you gotta, gently bring them with you, whether it's your musical style, your presentations, your beliefs, etc. But you can't jerk the wheel because people will fall off as a result. But yes, evolution is pinnacle to that. Absolutely. Any last questions, guys, for anything, or comments or challenges? Again, I didn't hear too many conflicting viewpoints. I like conflicting viewpoints. So what I'm saying is not like the be all end all gospel. This is the stuff that I've culminated over the course of 12 years or so of doing this stuff. But I want I like conflicting viewpoints.
I'm a big guy about disruption and chaos, but I will say if you hear me, if you notice my silence is basically just because coincidentally a lot of the things that you've come to understand are the things that I've come to understand in my core value set as well. So that's really the only reason I'm not pushing back on anything, because I don't have a problem kind of being vocal. It's just it's kind of clicking on all cylinders for me.
Then feel free to accentuate or agree, disagree, anyone, or more importantly, your personal experiences. I'd rather hear what's worked and what's not worked for you guys, because I just kind of poured my soul of what's worked for me, but I want to hear what's worked for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, the most important factor, I think, is really something that you said that I kind of just circled at one point. I mean, it encapsulates all of these things. It's sort of like that day in, day out acumen. If you look at everything in existence, no matter how mighty it was, and no matter how mighty it still is, it was all built one day at a time, one brick at a time, one grain of sand at a time. Every mountain starts off as a grain of sand. So it's like, it's crazy. What I've known in my life is what you can accomplish just with a few core positive pieces of habit that you instill into a daily practice. And then once that becomes foundational and it's second nature, and it's not, then you can sort of add more grains of sand to it and more grains of sand to it. And then overnight, it seems like overnight, because it was sort of just more like these daily, rituals. You just look back and you're like, holy shit, look at the ground we've covered.
Yeah, I will say that you sparked something in my head. I'm actually filming a video about this next week for my YouTube channel. But so the channel I have a few different series that I'm rolling out now. One of them is called Fact or Fiction, based on different sayings you've heard in the music industry. The first one was about your contacts are everything. I have my own opinions on that. The next one I'm filming is called, fake it till you make it sort of thing, right? Like what's the validity in that? Because these sayings are not as black and white as that. Like, do you fake it till you make it? Well, kind of. but not so much, I think, to the industry. Don't tell people you're bigger than you are. Don't buy Instagram followers and shit like that. I'm not talking about that fake team making. I'm talking about sometimes it's hard for people to believe themselves. I think it's hard for people to be like, I can do this, or like, I am that. But you got to do things that kind of reinforce that into your brain, whether it's dressing slightly different to be like, yeah, that's who I want to be. I look like this person now, not to floss in front to the public. I'm talking like to believe.
Oh.
Because I was a drummer all my career musically, right? And I produced music too, but as a performer, just a drummer. And I was always hiding behind a band. I was always like in the back. I wasn't singing or anything like that. I was behind this wall of noise. Right? I was protected. I was always guarded. So as a result, I'm fluent on drums. I've been playing drums since I was a kid. So I can say anything and I can speak to you fluently, especially if I'm being protected by other bandmates, like frontmen, whatnot, okay? But now as I'm transitioning to this piano player, I remember I told myself, I was like, holy shit, can I do this? It's very, very different. So a couple weeks ago, I got asked to open for some former ArtistPro students. They did a show in West Hollywood, and they asked me to open for them. And my natural gut was like, fuck that. I am not ready. Come on. I'm not good enough. The little voice was like, you trying to do this or not? Just do it. All right, fine. Fuck it. I'm in. I didn't invite a soul. This is completely an incognito kind of performance. But because I didn't feel like I quite had anything ready per se, but I had material. So I borrowed someone else's piano. I mean, I almost approached it, Ty, like a little bit like, this is low stakes. No one's going to see this. Like, don't stress. Don't overthink it. Just show up and play. And I got video content of it as well. But I sat there and with low risk, I was facing the audience at the piano, and then the light came on, and I was speaking to the audience, and it was fine. I was like, what was I worried about? I speak to people like many times a day publicly all the time. I got this. As soon as I pushed the microphone away and I looked down, I was like, oh, fuck. I'm the only one making noise up here. Everyone's looking at me. I'm on an instrument that I'm still kind of learning. You know, like I don't feel, it's like, imagine giving a TED talk or a speech in a language you're still learning. Like, ugh. It was rocking the beginning. You can see me. I'm just like, but I got through it. And I fucked up a lot, and I kept rolling with it. All the fuck ups that were just part of, I guess I'm going here now, right? I just kind of kept rolling with it. I was on someone else's piano. It was not my native environment. And at the end of it, I survived. Number one, I survived. And of course, I got the feedback loop. People were like, wow, what track 2? Like, is that on Spotify? Like, no, this is just me kind of testing the waters. None of this stuff is out yet. And then you bet your ass I was sitting there in the audience the rest of the show thinking like, next time I got to do this differently. I got to bring my own setup. I got to change this around. I got to bring a spotlight. I want to change my live. It really started clicking. I was like, I'm ready now. Like, I know I can do this because I did it. I felt the burn a little bit of like being unprepared a little bit, but also just feeling what it's like to be exposed as a single solo artist. I've never done a solo artist thing performance wise. So that was my kind of fake it till you make it a little bit of like, all right, hi, my artist name is Rizik. I'm saying like, I don't know, I'm HISHAM. Good evening, I'm Rizik. I had to like literally feel the new suit, like stiff, but it'll break in, it'll break in a little bit. But it was part of my affirmation process to be like, I guess I am this thing. I had to feel it. And now I'm writing music with more fever than ever because I know what it's like to be public facing now. So yeah, there's that too. Like sometimes you just got to feel it and believe it, because if it exists in your head or your hard drive, it's going to stay there sometimes. And you just keep running this feedback loop. But now that I have this expectation, people are literally texting me, hey, when can I hear some music? When I can hear some stuff? Hey, you were really awesome that night. When I can get you? I'm like, okay, tactically applied pressure now. I have to do this shit now. So it's a little different. But that's just my personal experience of doing that. If anyone has anything they want to bring up, by all means.
Yeah, I just want to harken back to what you had said way earlier about kind of staying authentic. And I think one of the bigger aspirations that I have is both performing, but also really writing for other artists. That level of influence, I think, is an important way of how you start to shape an industry. I think a lot of really big artists, especially if you look at hip hop, they were behind the scenes shaping a sound before it actually became a mainstream sound by writing.
Hell yeah.
And, but one of the things is like, I just want to really like kind of jam on that idea of authenticity, just because I was in a situation just this past weekend where I was invited to, much by chance and random occurrences that I drew to myself, but was in a kind of an industry driven collab session with a bunch of pro songwriters and producers, and they were like, our directive is to write like trap bangers for XYZ. They were like, if other things come out, that's great, because content is content. And I kind of hit, the first day I hit like a straight up brick wall, because I'm not a trap guy. I don't know the first thing about selling dope. My motifs are like love and prosperity and success, and like, and those things can kind of fit into trap, but don't traditionally. So for the first day, I kept trying to write trap bangers, and I'm like rehashing the same. This is kind of what I was talking about with noise in your head. I listened to a bunch of trap music on the way up just to kind of get myself in the zone, and I had a bunch of their motifs, their ideas, their feelings in my head, and I wrote inauthentic music the first day. And the second day, I made a commitment to myself that I was just like, if I were to ever write a trap banger, I would want to write the trap banger that I would believe in. So then I just went back the second day with the commitment of, fuck what I think trap is. I'm just going to write songs that resonate with me to the music that is available. And it was crazy. Like, my output was 3 times what it was the first day. My satisfaction level was 10 times what it was the first day. And literally I went from being an anonymous person in the crowd to like a bunch of folks being like, yo, we want to work with you. We didn't know you could sing like that.
To being that dude, as opposed to being like one other writer in the room. I will say this, from being in writing sessions like that, and also just sometimes sitting in of like, why are there like 9 people here? Really? It takes 9 of you guys to write a song? That's a whole thing. But that being said, you have to ask yourself, why would you be invited into a room in the first place? And typically it's like, oh, well, they wrote that song. They were a writer on that hit or something like that, right? But I think if you really, it's again, remember we talked about there's different degrees of the artist kind of perspective here. There can be explicit, like, I am the person on stage. This is my brand. Hello, my audience. Here's some merch. Fine. And then it could be the more subtle stage of you as the songwriter, but you still have an artistic viewpoint, right? Maybe you see the world through the lens of all the pillars that you just identified there, right? And then you're brought into the room because maybe the track or project calls for that perspective, or at least calls for a touch, a dose of that perspective, right? Maybe you're writing for a Brazilian female singer who wants like some trap music, at least 2 trap songs for her next album, but she has love-based lyrical content, and now you have experience in that realm, but now applied to this specific genre, because now you're coming from a place of authenticity. And people actually feel that shit, even when it's applied on a project basis. I don't care that you wrote for so-and-so. I care that you come from a very genuine perspective, and you do you better than anyone can do you, as opposed to being a second-rate name that thing. You know, I'd rather have you be the best version of you than, you know, the B version of that person. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. 100%. And that was something I experienced firsthand.
Yeah, the principles apply, even if you're a service provider in that regard.
Yeah, exactly.
Any other things, guys, you want to bring up or hark on? Questions? No? We good? We good? Yeah, nod your head if you're good. Was this helpful? Hopefully this was something to get, you know, your brain moving for the weekend, hopefully a little bit. Yeah, all right, very cool stuff. I mean, everyone in this group definitely had a lot to contribute. So I appreciate you guys coming in, and it sounds like everyone here is doing some cool shit anyway. I also, real quick, I want to spotlight one person here real quick. Chingshan is in the group, but she was also someone who was selected for one of my clients, actually, Tom Hokenborg, Junkie XL, the film composer. If you've seen Deadpool or Mad Max Fury Road or Batman vs. Superman, or the upcoming Terminator Dark Fate movie, he just scored that. But Chingshan here was one of two people who was selected to join our SCORE Academy, which is basically living and working with Tom while he scores films for about 9 months in a focused curriculum. And Chingshan was selected amongst hundreds of applicants to come to LA to live here and to work beside Tom and his assistants. Interesting. But yeah, I just want to shout her out because she is on some crazy shit right now.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity and the spotlight.
Oh, yeah. No, you're here. You're new. You're here in LA now. But yeah, she's definitely going to be. Well, I'll be working with her a lot through the SCORE Academy stuff. But yeah, you guys can definitely consider her already kind of the ArtistPro community too as well.
All right.
Word up.
Oh yeah.
All right, guys. Well, again, hopefully this was helpful to you. The action items are yours to keep. This video is going to take a couple hours to download, and then I have to upload it to YouTube. So I will send you a link to that. And if you want to do the ArtistPro stuff for October, applications are open. Like I said, there's about 5 people. Nikhil here is already going to be in the group as well. And hopefully I can see some of you guys if you want to take it as well. And if now's not the right time, totally fine. We do a new one every single month. So that being said, thank you. Your morning with me. Hopefully this was useful. And yeah, any questions at all about anything, just email me. I'm around.
Cool. Sounds good.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much.
All right, folks.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. Appreciate
Of
it.
course.
Yeah, thank
Hell
you.
yeah. Later, guys.
All right,
Yeah.
see you.